All right, folks, let's go ahead and hop into chapter 6. So, as always, make sure you have Get Epic open in one tab and you have this video open in another, and you're following along as I read. Everyone turned to find a white-haired man in a suit running towards them. He wore a panic-stricken expression on a face so tanned and taut that it looked like football leather. "Damon's fine, Bob," Anzoe said to him, "and he's not here." Oh. The man stopped running, and the fear immediately left his face. "Where have you been, anyway?" Anzoe asked him. "I need to talk to you." "You need to talk to me? The studio needs to talk to me? My ex-wives need to talk to me. My ulcers need to talk to me. Everybody needs to talk to me. But will anybody listen to me?" "Bob, you want to know where I was on the phone, because the insurance company needed to talk to me too. Thanks to our friend Mr. Internet. Don't believe a word of it, Colin. I'm saying everything's going great, Colin. And then some PA is running up to tell me now my leading man is having a heart attack." "He didn't have a heart attack. It was just another," Aunt Zoe's gaze flicked for just a second to the kids. "Incident." "Another incident? Another incident? I've never seen so many incidents on a set in my life. And I've produced 2 movies starring a chimpanzee. Is this how you and Ashkenos always operate? Because let me tell you something, Toots. You're in the big leagues now, and it only takes one swing and a miss to strike out." "Now, Bob, it's not Cash's fault," Anzoe said. She walked over to the man and began speaking to him reassuringly. "Who's that old guy?" DeMarco asked. Matt was displeased to see someone talking so harshly to his aunt. "Is that Damon Wilder's dad?" "No," Matt answered, chuckled a bit. "That's Bob Ortman, the executive producer." "I thought Aunt Zoe was the producer," Nick said. "She's a producer. This movie has 7, or maybe it's 8 now. I keep losing track. Anyway, Zoe's the line producer. She manages what's happening on set day to day." Matt nodded at Bob. "He's the executive producer, the money man. If he's not happy, the studio's not happy. And if the studio's not happy, we're all out of a job." "Itching powder," Bob said, nearly exploding at Aunt Zoe. His eyes were wide and his hands waved over his head. "Itching powder? What is this, a Bugs Bunny cartoon?" "He doesn't look happy," Silas said. Matt gathered up the ruined Metal Man suit. "If you'll excuse me, I need to see what I can salvage of this," he said. Then he added under his breath, "And I need to get my resume ready." "Don't get any of that powder on you," Tesla said. Matt glanced at her skeptically, but walked off, his pinched fingers carefully holding the tattered costume away from his body. Meanwhile, Bob was still ranting at Aunt Zoe. She answered in a soft, soothing tone, and he calmed down just a little. This was evident because his face changed from being as red as a fire engine to pink like a flamingo. "Fine," he said at last. "Let's call the studio right now. And you can make that promise to me yourself." Aunt Zoe seemed to mull the idea for a moment, and then she nodded slowly. "DeMarco, you and your friends wait for me, okay?" she called. "I won't be long." "Okay," DeMarco said. Aunt Zoe and Bob walked away together, weaving their way around crew members and equipment. "You know," Tesla mused, "she didn't tell us where to wait." "I think here is what's implied," Nick pointed out. He knew what was coming, though, and he wasn't the only one. "I think we should wait wherever he's going," DeMarco said, nodding at Matt, who was about 30 yards away. The prop guy was weaving cautiously between the long trailers lining the street, keeping a tight grip on the costume parts, but also trying to avoid touching them more than was necessary. At any moment, he might step between 2 trailers and disappear from sight. "Come on," Nick said. "Really?" DeMarco asked. "Really," Tesla repeated. "You were about to say it anyway," Nick said to his sister. "Right?" "Right," she said. "Let's go." All right, so I'm going to take a small little break here, and I have a reward for those of you who have been watching the videos every single day. So there's going to be an assignment attached to this video, and the assignment's going to be long, and it's going to be pointless, and I'm not going to grade it, because all you have to do to get credit for that assignment is in the comments, write down what is your favorite fruit, not vegetable, favorite fruit. Write it down in the comments of our Google Classroom where this assignment's going to be attached, and you're going to get the full credit for that assignment. But you can't tell anyone. It's got to be kept secret. If someone spoils it in the comments, then everyone's going to have to do the assignment that's horrible. So don't spoil in the comments. Just write down which fruit you like. People might say, why are you writing this? Don't say anything. And let's see if someone tries to waste their time and do the assignment instead of just coming into the video and watching the video. So now that that's over, let's get back to the reading. Did I tell you guys? I shook hands with Cash Esquino, Silas said. The kids were walking single file through the maze of trailers and tents that surrounded Video Village. Nick was in the lead, keeping an eye on Matt, letting the others know when it was safe to move forward. Silas was in the rear. We all shook hands with Cash Esquino, DeMarco said. Yeah, but I shook it longer than anyone. And I told him about my movie and how great it is. He seemed really impressed. Silas took another half a dozen steps in silence, replaying his golden moment with Cash Esquino in his head. Suddenly, he blurted out, hey, where are we going? To find out who's messing with my aunt's movie, DeMarco said. By following that guy? Itching powder works almost immediately, so it couldn't have been in Damon Wilder's costume when he first showed up, Tesla explained. It must have been slipped in right before they tried to get that shot. But Mr. Wilder was there in front of us the whole time, Silas said, which is how we know that 3 people touched him right before the camera rolled, Nick said. He started counting on his finger. 1, the lady who was putting on his makeup. 2, Cash Esquino, who patted Wilder on the back. And 3, Matt, Silas blurted out, proud to have finally figured out what his friends had known several minutes before. Up ahead, Matt stopped and looked back. Yeah, he called to the kids. Oh, great, Nick muttered. Way to go, said DeMarco. Chester's voice a weary sigh and said, Silas. But Silas didn't hear them. He started walking toward Matt, wearing a big grin on his face. We were just wondering, are you the prop master or the costume supervisor, he said. Neither, Matt said. I'm the special effects supervisor. Silas' grin widened. Really? I love special effects supervisors. Oh, yeah? Matt said skeptically. You sure you're not confusing us with visual effects supervisors? The kids had caught up with him now, and Silas looked like he wanted to drop to the ground and bow to the man's feet. No way, Silas said. I know the difference. The visual effects guys do all the post-production stuff, the fake stuff. You do the effects on set, the cool stuff, animatronics, stunts, prosthetics, explosions. I know most people are more into visual effects these days, but I'm like, forget all that CGI. That's just like pushing buttons on a computer. The special effects dudes keep it real. Silence had spoken the magic words. Matt's doubtful frown soon morphed into a smile of delight. Wow, kid, you really know your cinema. He held out his hand. Matt Gore, pleased to meet you. Would you all like to see my shop? Would we? Silas answered. I can't think of anything we'd like to do more. Right, guys? Silas looked at his friends, who all smiled and nodded enthusiastically. Oh boy, Nick said. Tesla elbowed him as a reminder not to lay it on too thick. Come on, said Matt. It's over here. As he turned and headed between 2 trailers, Tesla reached out and put a hand on Silas's shoulder. I take it all back, she said. Take all what back? Silas asked. What I was thinking about you a minute ago. The kids followed Matt around one corner, then another, and finally up a ramp leading into the back of yet another long white trailer. Well, boy, Nick said again. Tesla didn't elbow him this time because she knew he wasn't acting. Instead, she said, ditto. Matt Gore's trailer was like their uncle's basement laboratory, only with fewer test tubes and beakers and a lot more giant robot heads. Excuse me. Only one giant robot head, actually. But Uncle Newt didn't have any at all, so. There were prop laser rifles and jetpacks, animatronic body parts, and work tables covered with paint cans and putty and all sorts of cool-looking tools. Hey, Silas said, pointing at the giant head. Is that Lord Computron from the Metal Man comics? Matt dropped the battered Metal Man costume onto the nearest table and put a finger to his lips. Shh, spoiler alert, we're blowing that up on Thursday. Silas and DeMarco showed their approval by high-fiving each other. Cool, huh? Nick said to Tesla. But his eyebrows were saying something very different. They were wagging up to the left, signaling, look, over there. Totally, Tesla enthused as she tried to steal a peek at whatever her brother was waggling at. He seemed to be indicating the shelf up so high on the trailer wall that even hulking Silas, who was nearly as tall as Matt, would need to jump just to touch it. The shelf was loaded with plastic bottles and canisters identified with labels like Smoke Black, Smoke White, Smoke Gray, and Kablam. Interestingly, but hardly worth the waggle, but just then Tesla saw it. At the far end of the shelf stood a small, unlabeled, clear plastic container half filled with orange-brown powder. Tessa cocked an eyebrow at her brother. Bingo. Then she furrowed her brow slightly as if trying to signal. But how do we get it down so we can see if it's itching powder? Nick frowned and shrugged. Got me. I would love to have something like that for a bald eagle. The legend takes flight, Silas was saying to Matt, still admiring the robotic head. That's a movie I'm making. I even brought some of the props to show cash. Nick and Tesla looked at each other again, and this time their expressions were saying the same thing. Of course, the arm. All right, so go ahead and check what's on the Google Classroom, and good luck.